All right, so 2.5, reasoning using properties from algebra. Remember, we're in logic. In logic, we're using different types of reasoning. We're using inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So now what we're going to do is put some reasoning behind solving equations. So first, let's talk about the properties. So algebraic properties of equality. When you're solving an equation and you have to add something to each side, so we're solving an equation, we have to add 4 to one side and add 4 to the other, then we're going to call that the addition property. So if A is equal to B, then if I just say we're going to add 4, then we're going to add 4. So what you do to one side, you do to the other, and if you're adding, you call it the addition property. Again, this is going to be things that you're already used to doing. We're just kind of putting a new name or a new idea behind it. So subtraction property, so that's when you subtract a value from each side. And again, we're just going to make up a value. So if we're going to subtract 3 from one side, we have to subtract 3 from the other side. That's the subtraction property of equality. Okay, when we multiply one side and the other. So if we're going to multiply 2 times A, then we're going to have to also do it to the other side. And division, when we're going to divide one side by a value, then we have to divide the other side. Substitution is where you know, all right, if A equals B, and then if A is equal to 2, then you also know that B is equal to 2. So this kind of goes along with some of the other types of in deductive reasoning we were talking about. So if A is equal to B, then A is equal to 2. So then you can say B is equal to 2. So it's kind of similar to the law of syllogism. You're just substituting. What happened is we substituted here, we substituted the 2 right in for the A. So now what you're going to do with these addition properties and subtraction properties is you're just going to be providing them as reasons of why you're solving the equation. So we're going to solve 2x plus 3 equals 9 minus x. Write a reason for each step. So write a reason, we're doing reasoning, it's logic. So here's the equation. So the first is, all right, this was given to us. What we have to do next to solve here is, and again, you may solve it differently, but here it's kind of like they're solving it a certain way. So when you get to do them on your own, remember your steps could vary. So basically, we're going to add x to each side. And because we are here, we are adding, then this is because of the addition property of equality. And you can abbreviate, like if you want to say this is the addition and you can say prop of eq, that's fine as well. So you don't have to write that out all the time. Okay, next when we do this, so we're going to have to combine like terms here. We get 3x and then these are going to cancel, so all that's left is 9. So the explanation for that is just what we did. We combined like terms. Another word you may see sometimes is that we just simplified things. So combine like terms or simplified, you can use either one. Now to continue to solve, we're going to subtract 3 from each side. And we're doing that because of the subtraction property of equality. So when we do that, we're left with 3x equals 6. And then now to solve, we're going to divide each side by 3 because of the division property of equality. And when we do that, we get x is equal to 2. So again, you're solving equations like you've done a gazillion times already this year and that you're really, really good at. You're solving them, but now all you're adding is what you're doing in that step, okay? So like did you add, did you subtract, did you simplify, so forth and so on. All right, so we have one other property we can't forget about, and that's the distributive property. So remember, when you distribute, you have to distribute to each and every part. So here then, AB is going to be equal to, so that's going to be equal to AB plus AC. So let's see here, let's solve this example. So again, the equation is given here. -4 times 6x plus 2 equals 64. So you write the original equation, and that was given. That's the reason you wrote it, is because it was given to you here. Next, what we're going to do is multiply. And the fancy word for multiply is that we had to distribute. So it's the distributive property. So next, to solve, what we're going to do is we would add 8 to each side. So we would be left with -24x equals, what's that, 72. And when we add, that's the addition property of equality. And then we're going to divide each side by -24. And when we divide, we call that the division property of equality. And so we get that x is equal to -3. So now, I want you to try some on your own, and we'll pause the video, and then you can come back and check. Remember, you can solve equations in many ways, so just because I do one thing as my first step does not mean it has to be your first step. What you just want to make sure and that you do have correct is one's the answer needs to be the same, and for each step that you do, they're going to be similar. So if you're adding, make sure it says addition, subtraction, so forth and so on. So go ahead and pause and try to do these on your own. You're going to solve and write the reason for each step. Let's just do one, and then we'll come back and check and then do the other. All right, so you guys know I always like to move my smallest x first. So that's just what I'm going to do here. I'm going to subtract x and I'm going to subtract x. So my reason that I have here is the subtraction property of equality. And again, I'm abbreviating. So in my next step, I have -5 is equal to 7, and that is plus x. So now to solve, I have to subtract 7 from each side. So again, what did I do? Subtraction property of equality. What is left now is that I have -12 is equal to x. So that one only took 2 steps, 2 subtraction steps, and you got your answers, x equals 12. Great, so now try number 2, and again, we're going to pause it, and then you come back and check. Okay, so in number 2, what I see first off is parentheses, which means we have to distribute. So we get 20 minus 4x is equal to -2x. So again, what we do there, we did the distributive property. Now we have to get all of our x's on the same side. So let's plus 4x plus 4x. The addition property. So we get 20 is equal to 2x. We're going to divide by 2. So that would be the division property. And then we should have your final answer as x equals 10. There you go. So now you're just going to work on a worksheet where you're solving equations. And again, you're just going to write a reason for each step. Good luck.